Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another episode of the GRCV Hoops podcast. And I'm glad to be back. My name is Gavin Campbell, and alongside me, my good friend
Ricardo Vargas. I'm very glad to have you back. It feels like forever since we've done an episode together.
Absolutely. It's definitely been a few weeks, and I don't know if you can hear it in the voice, but I've been dealing with a sinus infection the past couple of weeks, but I'm starting to get over it, and I can tell you what, it feels very, very good to be back in the studio with you.
Oh no, I'm gonna enjoy this episode a lot.
Absolutely. We didn't get it. Well, Rick talked about it last week. Getting into the NBA playoffs, and it's been up and down for a lot of teams so far. Definitely some twists and turns we didn't expect, but it's been definitely interesting to watch. I know I've caught at least 4 or 5 games so far, and we're just getting started. The first round is always the best round because there's so many teams to watch. So many different guys that can have the potential to change the series. And I think one in particular was the James Harden in the fourth quarter against Game 1 and against the Minnesota Timberwolves. I think he scored 13 of his points in the fourth quarter, hit the step back over Karl Anthony Towns to pretty much seal the deal for the Rockets and take Game 1 at home. And I really thought Minnesota had a chance because they played really well in that game. Their defense was actually a lot better than I expected it to be because Houston having the best offense of all time during the regular season throughout the history of the NBA. And I mean, the fact that the Wolves were able to keep it that close in a hostile environment was really impressive. And I'm really glad to see Jimmy Butler back. I think this is his 4th game back from injury. And he had an incredible game against the Denver Nuggets to even get to this point, dueling it out with Nikola Jokic for the play-in game. But so far, Game 1 was very interesting. James Harden played out of his mind. But the one thing that does concern me for the Houston Rockets that I think gives the Timberwolves a chance, Rick, is the struggles of Chris Paul. We saw a couple turnovers a couple nights ago that were very uncharacteristic of him. We know that he hasn't, not him himself, but his teams haven't, performed up to par in the playoffs, mostly due to him being in the Western Conference his entire career. But we saw a couple turnovers last night that were very uncharacteristic, poor shooting percentage from the field, and he only finished with 4 assists, which is very concerning him. Probably most likely being a top 5, if not top 10 point guard of all time. And that is what really concerns me. And if Jeff Teague and Jimmy Butler and guys like that can take advantage of Chris Paul's struggles, I think they got a chance because I don't think James Harden can do it by himself.
Oh no, I completely agree with you. Yeah, I really did like the way Jeff Teague played in that game. He was very aggressive, and yeah, if Chris Paul can't produce at the high level that we're known to see him, like Houston's in big trouble because yes, you do have James Harden, arguably the MVP of the league, but I don't think he can do it, like especially in the West. I don't think he can do it all playoffs, and they really do need Chris Paul to produce, and they have to watch out because the Timberwolves, they put up a fight, Houston won and whatnot, but I think Karl Towns next game in, he's going to have a big game because, it was his first playoff game, maybe a little nervous, didn't shoot too well, but I think next game he will put up some numbers, and, they got to watch out for that. They got lucky that first game, but I think it's going to be a battle between these two teams.
Absolutely, and it's like, we said before, if it wasn't for James Harden's heroics in the fourth quarter, the Rockets could find themselves down 0-1 right now to the Wolves.
Easily.
Excuse me. Also with the Timberwolves, and I think that they have so many veteran pieces. And, a veteran coach that's been to the playoffs multiple times, and Tom Thibodeau. We have, Jimmy Butler's been to the playoffs many times. Derrick Rose, veteran presence on that bench, along with Taj Gibson. It's funny that we have the 3 guys from the Chicago Bulls from 2 years ago.
Yeah.
But, Taj Gibson is no slouch. His
no, he's good.
His defensive presence and veteran leadership that he brings while he's on the floor. Not only that, even while he's on the bench, is you can feel it. Okay, and any team that goes up against him, and the Rockets know it, that you don't want to go up against him when you're driving to the lane. James Harden experienced that firsthand last night, along with Chris Paul, who, like we said, Taj Gibson was a big part of Chris Paul's shooting woes last night, or not last night, from a couple nights ago. Clint Capella, I thought he played okay. I feel like they need to incorporate him more into the offense. Maybe get him some more one-on-one touches with Karl Anthony Towns. I know that Towns is gifted defensively, but Capella has also improved from the past couple seasons.
A lot.
We've seen him. I mean, he is not the same kid that we saw a couple years ago in the series against the Clippers. When the Rockets came back from 3-1, almost a non-factor really, except the one game where he absolutely went off. But this guy, he's turning into that DeAndre Jordan-esque type player. Although I do think he can shoot a little bit better than DJ can, because we know Jordan does not have a jump shot whatsoever. But that doesn't stop him from shooting, above 60% from the field every year.
Yeah, no, Capella is a vital part for that Houston team, and with the big men that are in the West, they're gonna have to use him a lot. And yeah, like we said, James Harden can't do this on his own. He hit some crazy tough shots in the fourth quarter, and that's not gonna happen every night. So these other guys will have to step up in order for them to win this game. And I think Minnesota will win a couple games this series.
Absolutely, and I think that's very possible. I had Houston in 5. I know you had Houston winning in 6. You believe in the Wolves a little bit more than I do. But,
yeah, I do.
The Rockets offense, just it being, like nothing we've ever seen, as simplistic as it is, shoot threes, get to the cup, play defense. I mean, that's all it is.
They shot more 3s and 2s during the regular season.
Absolutely.
That's wild.
That's absolutely crazy to think about, But that goes along and fits the concept of something we've never seen before. We know Golden State, invented this a few years ago. Steve Kerr, with Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, and those guys. Now Mike D'Antoni taking it a step further and saying, no, that's all we're going to shoot is threes. It's either if we don't make our threes, that's going to be the reason we lose. Not because, we couldn't play defense, not because we didn't drive, because we're not going to do that. We're going to shoot, and we're going to shoot the lights out. If it doesn't happen, then we'll try again in the next game. But I guess this is going to be the philosophy for them moving forward. We know that the Houston Rockets are I don't want to say a one-track team, but that's pretty much what it is, a one-trick pony with them. If you can guard the perimeter, if you have guys like Taj Gibson, Gorgie Jang, Karl Anthony Towns inside, force James Harden, force Chris Paul, force Trevor Ariza, whoever it is, even Clint Capella to challenge you inside, and let that be the reason they beat you. Take away their 3-ball and force them to do something they're not comfortable with and that they haven't done the entire year.
No, yeah, I agree. And with the Timberwolves, I think if their other guys step up, if Andrew Wiggins goes off a game, Absolutely. And even Derrick Rose himself, I think he can have a big game one of these nights,
I think anyone can have a big game on any night, like we saw with Dwayne Wade last night.
Yeah, with Dwayne Wade, exactly.
Points off the bench in 20-something minutes. I think Derrick Rose, you're right, could have a big game if given the opportunity.
If given the opportunity, and especially like Andrew Wiggins, he was supposed to be one of their best players on that team, and he's been disappointing this season.
Probably the Wolves' biggest disappointment in that game. After
so
playing against Denver to get in, hitting those 2 big free throws at the end of regulation to put them up 4. It was a big deal. But after watching last night, I mean, like you said, it's his first playoff game. He's still young. He could be nervous, but I'm hoping that if he settles down, we know that he can score the basketball.
Oh, most definitely. And if all those guys on the Timberwolves get rolling, it's scary.
Absolutely. And like you said, I think that they have a good chance to maybe steal a couple games, possibly even force Game 7, but I'm going to stick with Houston in 5 games.
Okay, I can respect that, but I think in 6. Houston in 6 still.
All right, moving on to the other series, and this is probably the most exciting matchup of the entire playoffs, not just the Western Conference, but the Oklahoma City Thunder versus the Utah Jazz. The OKC Thunder has had their ups and downs this season, but they've beaten some really good teams and they've lost to some really bad teams. And to end up where they are right now in the 4 seed, they're guaranteed home court advantage throughout this first round after winning Game 1 against Utah. But that was behind an absolutely exceptional night from Paul George.
Very impressive.
8 3-pointers, a OKC Thunder playoff record.
That's wild.
And this is the kind of stuff we remember him seeing in his Pacer days. Maybe not last year. Losing to the Raptors in the first round, the couple years ago when he lost to the Raptors in the first round, then losing to the Cavs in the first round.
8 threes, man.
But 8 3-pointers is no easy task, and coming from a forward of all people, although he does spend some time at the 2-guard position with Russ. Not to mention Russ had a really good game last night or 2 nights ago with he got 20-something points, almost a triple-double. Carmelo, he was okay, better than what we've come to know him in the second half of the season, but he missed a couple wide open 3-point shots. I saw him do isolation plays a couple times, and that I understand that he wants to be Melo from New York days and from the Denver days, but it's not. He needs to become a spot up shooter, and not so much focus on the isolation plays. If he could become a more team-orientated player throughout these playoffs, I think OKC has a great chance to get out of the West.
Imagine if he becomes like a Trevor Ariza type player, just
Absolutely,
3-and-D type of guy.
exactly. If he would focus more or put more effort into the defensive end and become a spot-up shooter instead of wasting the energy with the dribble moves and the isolations, trying to get his guy either to fall off or beat him to the bucket, which I don't think Melo's going to do anymore at the age that he is. But in his mind, he's still a superstar.
Yeah.
And that's no disrespect to him, but Father Time is undefeated, and he will stay undefeated.
Exactly. You just have to accept your fate,
Exactly. If he would come back down to earth and realize, who he is, I mean, it's already good enough that he's realized that he's the third option on this team.
That's something.
That's helped them out tremendously. I think, balancing out between Paul George and Westbrook, who's the first option, I think whoever has the hot hand should take position of that role, just like Westbrook deferred to Paul George in Game 1. If Paul George is going to finish with 39 points, let Westbrook give him the ball. And if Westbrook wants to go off for 39 points, get Westbrook the ball. I think Melo is capable of being the first option, but let it come naturally.
Yeah, they have to learn Melo, he's accepting his role, and I think Westbrook also has to accept sometimes he's not gonna be the hero of every single game. He could have 20 assists and 20 rebounds and 10 points.
Exactly.
Let Paul George and Carmelo do his thing. I think out of those three, I think Paul George is the most accepting one. I think he's most team-oriented guy.
Absolutely.
But if they can make it work, this is a scary team.
Yeah, I think Paul George, and this is no disrespect. I mean,
no disrespect.
I mean this, willingly. He's a passive-aggressive superstar.
Yeah.
Okay. He wants someone else to take on the role of the alpha dog, but he is the absolute best number 2 that you will ever have. And even though he was the alpha dog in Indiana, that only got him so far when you run into LeBron James a couple times.
Yeah, and maybe that helped him realize that he can be the number 2 option, but he can be the number 1 option on a night that they need him to.
And this is an example. It's a little out there, but even when he was playing with Lance Stevenson, when Lance was really good in 2013, 2014, at times during the playoffs, especially against the Miami Heat, Lance took on the persona of the alpha dog, going one-on-one with LeBron James, having a couple really good games in the series, and Paul George, sort of took a back seat to him in a way. Not talent-wise, but because Lance is such a flamboyant character, and not to mention Lance and the Pacers stealing Game 1 from LeBron. What was it? A couple days ago.
Yeah.
But we'll get to that when we move over to the Eastern Conference. But like I said, Paul George, he's more accepting of a Robin type role, not so much being Batman.
Exactly. No, and that's you do need that from a guy like him. And it's good to know that he's accepted that role, but he can be Batman if they do need him.
Absolutely, and like we saw in Game 1. But moving over to the Utah Jazz, is a very interesting team, a team that I don't think anyone saw coming that was even going to make the playoffs, but somehow ended up in the 5 seed. And all of these teams, 3 through 8 were very close. I think only separated by 3, maybe 2.5 games. But the Utah Jazz, really through the sheer will of Donovan Mitchell and a little bit of Rudy Gobert, pushed their way into the playoffs.
That's one of the best stories of this season. It is incredible what Donovan Mitchell has been able to do with that team.
I think that's an understatement. I think the way that he has been able to not only carry this team, but really transform this franchise. After they lost Gordon Hayward, after they lost Rodney Hood, I mean, yes, they acquired Jay Crowder, who has really been slept on and been an important part of the defense of the Utah Jazz.
I'm happy for him.
Absolutely. Well, former Celtic, I know that you're very excited to see him doing well. But losing those guys, and then having a rookie of all people step up for your team, be the face of the franchise, have all the guys buy in and saying you are the guy, having a head coach in Quinn Snyder that believes you're the guy, runs plays for you, puts the ball in your hand, gives you the ball in crunch time, and this is where they end up. I think at the end of the season, after the All-Star break, they only lost 6 or 7 games. That's absolutely incredible because I think
in the West.
Exactly, and I think that at one point they were almost down double digits record-wise. I think they were 8 games under 500, or pretty close to it, and then here they are in the 5th seed going against OKC. And it was actually a really good game. Despite Paul George scoring 39 points, it was a great game because Donovan Mitchell ended up, I think, with 28 and 10 rebounds. And it was just really a really great thing to see because we saw Gobert really keep the inside locked down. I mean, if it wasn't for Paul George scoring 8 threes, Utah might have had a really good chance to win.
Exactly. No, and just how you said it with Donovan Mitchell, just leading the team, and it's, you can't measure that like you can with points and rebounds, but that's something very valuable that they have in that player, and like Utah's future is bright, even if they do lose this series, which I don't think they will. I think they're going to win this in 7 games and keep it going.
See, this is where you and me differ. I do agree that it will go 7 games, but I think that OKC's experience, I think Westbrook, I think Paul George, I think Carmelo Anthony will just be too much for Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert. If they still, honestly, if they still had Rodney Hood, I don't know if my decision would differ, but I just don't think that Jay Crowder is enough to be that third option for the team.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm sticking with OKC in 7. Although I wouldn't be surprised if Utah was able to pull it out. Like I said, OKC's been up and down all season. It's all going to depend on how they all come together.
Yeah, I agree with you on that one.
But moving on to a series in which I was dead wrong. I was absolutely wrong in this one. The Portland Trail Blazers and the New Orleans Pelicans, the 3 and 6 seed respectively. They're 2 games into the series. I had originally called for Portland to win this in 6 because of home court advantage. The New Orleans Pelicans are without Boogie Cousins, and they don't have home court advantage. The Brow, I just didn't think that he would be enough to handle the backcourt of C.J. McCollum and Damian Lillard. Not to mention that the Brow would have to go up against Yusuf Nurkic, who's no slouch.
No slouch,
but
solid player.
But does not compare to Anthony Davis.
No.
However, I was very wrong, and the New Orleans Pelicans are up 2-0 after beating Portland twice on their home court. And Rick, I'm really on the verge of being speechless because Anthony Davis, again, at time and time again, has proved me wrong. As much as I love him, I always underestimate his talent and what he's able to do. What do you make of this series so far?
Just like yourself, I'm just completely shocked. I didn't think New Orleans would be able to do this, especially against a Portland team. I'm a big fan of Lillard and McCollum. I think they're one of the best backcourts in the league, and what's even more impressive is that they're doing that in Portland.
Absolutely,
and
that's no easy place to play in, especially in a playoff atmosphere. Just ask the Houston Rockets.
Exactly, like it's insane what they're doing, and you got to give credit to Drew Holiday. He stepped up big in that game too, but like
playoff career high, 33 points in the second game.
Wow, no, that's crazy. And I think they're gonna win this series, but I don't think Portland's gonna go down that easy. I think Lillard's gonna carry that team on his back, and this series will go to 7 games. But New Orleans is gonna shock the league and win this series.
See, I agree with you at this point because there's no possible way that Portland's gonna win 4 games in a row, and if they do, prove me wrong. But it's not gonna happen. If it does, it'll go 7, and I think that they'll get a chance to get it. But I think as of right now, New Orleans is looking to win in 6 or 7 games, like you said. I think Damian Lillard and C.J. McCollum both have a game in which they need to score 30, 40 points for them to win, and I think it's very possible. But after those 2 games, I don't see how they're going to win, especially in New Orleans. If anything, after 5, they'll go into Game 5 down 3-1 after the next few days. But
it's going to be tough, and like the other Blazers, they're going to have to step up immediately.
Absolutely. After watching the game, I mean, I don't blame Nurkic for their loss. I mean, really, this has been on the dynamic duo of Lillard and McCollum, which I hate to say because we expect so much out of them. But their rookie Zach Collins missing wide open 3-pointers, that's not going to help you win. Al-Farouq Aminu he's known for his defense, kind of being subpar in these past couple games, and then really on the offensive end, not really giving you much. It's just it's really disappointing to see because we thought that this was a team that was really gonna challenge the Golden State Warriors, and I don't mean that they were gonna win, but this is definitely a team that we thought, with as good as Lillard was playing the second half of the season, maybe push it 6 games,
Yeah.
Maybe even 7 games if it got to that point.
Lillard was playing like an MVP type of player.
I really like the matchup of, Curry and Thompson versus Lillard and McCollum, but then, there's no answer for, that 7-foot monster and Kevin Durant. So, that's why you need your role players to step up. You need Nurkic to play well because the Golden State Warriors don't have an answer for him. Just like the Golden State Warriors aren't going to have an answer for Anthony Davis if the Pelicans end up winning this series, which it's looking like they're going to. Usually you go up 2-0, it's looking like you're going to win. But we'll have to see what happens. So it's the NBA playoffs. Anything is possible.
No, anything's possible. Exactly. Just how they were able to win these 2 games in Portland. Like, shoot, Portland can snatch a couple games
in New Orleans. It's absolutely crazy on the possibilities that could happen. But I think the biggest thing that has kept New Orleans in this position is not only Anthony Davis and Drew Holiday, but Rajon Rondo and the experience that he brings. He's an NBA champion, multiple-time playoff appearances.
Has had amazing playoff performances.
And I'm
against
sure
the Heat.
you know it better than anybody. Being a Celtic fan, you see it all the time when he was there. But I mean, just the awareness that he has, the composure, the leadership qualities that he brings to this team. I mean, this is what we wanted to see from Rondo if New Orleans was able to make the playoffs. This is exactly what we wanted from him. And it shows you last night. Not known for a three-point shooter, but they found him wide open in the corner when they were up by 4, nailed the dagger 3 to put Portland away.
Yeah, no, and that's the type of stuff you need from Rondo, because it is kind of sad, see him go from Boston to these other teams that he's been on and not having much success. But with this team, like it's great to see in this experience, like just how you said, this experience that he brings to the team, it's really irreplaceable. And I think he still has a lot in the tank left. And I think he can be a very good player at the rest of these playoffs. I
think it's really an testament to, how these players have all come together with the absence of DeMarcus Cousins. Because with DeMarcus playing, who knows what this team would be capable of?
It's scary to think about.
It's really mind-boggling sometimes when you think, wow, they're already up 2-0 on Portland without arguably their best player, guaranteed second best player. It's just really, really crazy to think about. But it's looking like New Orleans is going to run away with this series if Portland does not get their act together, and their backcourt needs to show up for Game 3.
Yeah, no, it's gonna be exciting to watch, and like just how you said, that's crazy. They're without the best center in the league, and they're up 2-0. Incredible.
Moving on to the last and probably most uninteresting series, or at least that's how it's been. The Golden State Warriors, the 2 seed, going against the 7 seed San Antonio Spurs, who are without Kawhi Leonard. The Golden State Warriors, however, are without Stephen Curry. But they still have Draymond Green, Klay Thompson, Andre Iguodala, Kevin Durant.
I'm not even going to say nothing with this one.
Go down the list. But I thought maybe San Antonio. But I thought maybe San Antonio would be able to take a game from these guys just because it's a Greg Popovich team. I give them some credibility, and he would find a way to pull out a win out of his magic hat or whatever.
Yeah.
But it's really looking bad without Kawhi Leonard there and the whole situation, which is a story for a different day, which we will cover eventually.
Yeah, no, most definitely.
That's definitely something that needs to be touched on. But I have the Golden State Warriors winning in 5. They're up 2-0 right now with Game 3 happening, I think, tomorrow or the day after. But Rick, give me your thoughts on this series.
Like, I really don't have much to say. Like, I agree with you on that one. Like, I think Popovich might maybe be able to pull out a game. They might get lucky and catch them off guard, but it might just be a sweep, an easy sweep.
It's looking that way. But we really hope that it doesn't. We'd like to see at least one game. Give a team some hope.
Yeah.
And sometimes they say the best hope is no hope because you don't want to end up being disappointed, but. Just to give these young guys, some more playoff experiences, guys like Kyle Anderson and DeJounte Murray, guys like that.
He's the future. DeJounte Murray's the future for that.
Absolutely, and I know that he's learning from guys like Tony Parker and Manu Ginobili, who might not be around next season, if not in a couple of years.
Yeah.
And the Spurs, honestly, I think with the whole Kawhi Leonard situation, just to touch on it. If they're going to trade him, I think that they need to get some draft picks and start surrounding guys like Kyle Anderson, DeJounte Murray, Bertrands with, younger pieces to, build up with, because I think it's about that time. Danny Green's not going to be around forever.
Yeah.
Guys like Patty Mills aren't going to be around forever.
Rudy Gay.
Yeah, Rudy Gay is getting up there as well. Pau Gasol, he's not going to be there. We found out he's 36 years old today. I did not know he was that old. Wow.
Consistent.
Very consistent. I still remember him in the Laker uniform with Kobe winning a couple titles.
That's crazy. Like, that's so long ago.
Yeah, it's really
good times though.
It's really mind-boggling when you think about it. And that's the second time I've used that phrase today.
For me, I just look at time like the NBA season. It's just so crazy to think back like a few seasons this happened and it was like 3 or 4 years ago and whatnot.
Right. It doesn't feel like that.
It doesn't. Like the seasons go by so quick.
But that series, it's probably going to end up being a sweep, like you said. But we have too much respect for Popovich to not put faith in him that'll win at least one game. So we both have Golden State in 5. But moving on to the other conference, the Eastern Conference, that does exist. Although the talent level may not be as high as the West, still have some pretty good games.
They've been
interesting series going on. We'll start off with the first one, the Toronto Raptors, my favorite team, going up against the Washington Wizards, the 8th seed. They're up 2-0, and game 2 they put an absolute spanking on Washington and John Wall and Bradley Beal. Bradley Beal just didn't show up. I think he is checked out. Someone needs to put out a APB for Bradley Beal after scoring 9 points and going. I think it was 3 of 11 on field goals. It was really, really sad to see because I was expecting, as much as I love the Raptors, I have respect for Washington and what the Wizards are able to do, and they have a really good coach in Scott Brooks and John Wall coming back off injury, Bradley Beal being the sniper that he is, and Marcin Gortat being a serviceable big man in the NBA for many years. And they just decided to not show up, and DeMar DeRozan had one of the best playoff games of his life, scoring 37 points. Kyle Lowry had a double-double. I believe he had 12 points, or 12 assists and 11 points last night.
That's solid.
And then Jonas Valanciunas, 19 points, 15 rebounds. Excellent game from him. Very proud to have seen him play well. I know that I was talking about trading him earlier in the year. Don't worry, JV. I don't want you going anywhere. And then Serge Ibaka played really well, lights out. Him and DeRozan connected on a couple give-and-go three-pointers. It was very, very nice to see. When you coach Little League, you like to see stuff like that because that's what you teach your kids. But I ultimately had the Raptors winning in 5. I figured Washington would be able to steal a game at home, and we'll see if they're able to do that. But if not, it's really starting to look like a sweep. Washington has allowed the Raptors to give up over 120 points per game.
Good God.
And unless they change that, I don't think that they're going to be able to put up enough points to get a win.
Yeah, I think this is a clean sweep, to be honest. Like, I do respect the Wizards. I'm a huge John Wall fan, and like Bradley Beal, he's had an amazing season. But I think this is Toronto's year to make a deep run in the playoffs, and I think the Wizards will be their first victim.
Absolutely, it's starting to look that way. Otto Porter Jr. actually he played decently in those couple games, but unless he gets some help, like Bradley Beal disappearing is not going to help him any. John Wall and Marcin Gortat, whatever beef they have, they need to squash that really quick.
That's just hurting the team.
Exactly. It doesn't help. It doesn't help anybody else when your point guard and your center are in a fits with each other because it throws everything off. All your shooters are waiting for you guys to figure out what you're going to do. Then it takes their mind off the game. They can't focus because you're not focused. And
it's sad to see because they're such a nice combo.
And they've been that way for a few years.
Yeah, it's really nice to see them. Wall giving it out to Gortat, just finishing. But they do have to fix that if they want to at least get a game, which I don't think they will. I
don't know if they can because John Wall, even in the regular season, since coming off his injury, he just has not looked the same. He doesn't look as explosive. I don't know if he even looks as engaged as he wants to be. I don't know what's going on. Maybe, he's distracted from some sort of pain or there's something going on outside of basketball, outside of his, personal self, out of his personal well-being. But we're not sure what's going on there. Unless he can turn it around, I don't think the Wizards stand a chance because he is the life force of that team. I mean, even when he was out, Bradley Beal was keeping him in it, but they kept slipping in the standings slowly but surely. And John Wall came back, and they were able to stick around in the 8th seed. Yeah. But unless John Wall turns it around, they don't stand a chance in this series.
No, they don't at all. And I think even if he does come back to his regular self, I still think Toronto, it's just too good. The momentum's just too much on their side.
I think ultimately it comes down to even if you go past the starters, just the depth of the bench.
The bench. If you got the best bench in the league,
and Fred VanVleet did not play in the past couple games. I think he's out for the series right now with an injury. But I mean, when you have guys like C.J. Miles, Jakob Poeltl, DeLon Wright, Norman Powell. I mean, it goes all the way down. Pascal Siakam, Malcolm Miller. I mean, he's hurt right now, but really anybody, any of the 12 guys, 13 guys. Nogueira played in the series. The crazy hair Nogueira was playing. Everybody on the Raptors bench is able to contribute. And I think that's what makes this team so special because not only do they have 2 All-Stars, not only do they have a solid big man, not only do they have a former All-Star not All-Star, but All NBA caliber player in Serge Ibaka, in his younger days, their bench makes them like a championship caliber team. they kind of remind me of the 2004 Pistons in a way.
Yeah,
You know, when you had a guy like, Chauncey Billups, Kyle Lowry, when you had a guy like Rip Hamilton, DeMar DeRozan, when you had a guy like Ben Wallace, not as scary, but Jonas Valanciunas, I mean, guys like this, and you had Rasheed Wallace, again, not as scary, but there's Serge Ibaka. These guys, not the best players, not superstars, but all-stars, all of them coming together to accomplish one goal. And I think if the Raptors can get out of the East, I think that they have a really good chance.
Yeah, no, I agree. And, I can see the similarities between them and the Pistons. And I think the Raptors have an advantage because, for me, DeMar DeRozan, he's a star. He's
absolutely, and I think
he's a franchise guy.
Absolutely, and I think after because the Raptors have never won a Game 1 series in their entire existence in the playoffs. I think after that, and I think after winning 2 in a row, that I think we have proved some of the doubters wrong. That this is not the same Raptors team. These are not the baby dinosaurs that are going to crumble as soon as the playoffs hit. These guys are not going to disappear. All right, no. Just because they have a really good regular season, there's a reason they won 59 games. Yeah. There's a reason they won a franchise-setting record number of games this season. Okay, they're here, and they're going to the minimum. I'm going to tell you right now. I don't care if we have to play LeBron. I don't care if we have to play Indiana in the next round. We are going to the Eastern Conference Finals, and we are going to have a chance to go to the championship. And I'm calling it right now.
I could honestly see it, because I'm a Boston fan and whatnot, but with what we're going through, I think Toronto's they're up next.
And this is because I respect my opponent. I thought Boston was the only team that actually had a legitimate shot at beating Toronto in the conference finals until Kyrie Irving got hurt.
Yeah, because
I believe that much in him and what he was able to do for Cleveland in the past 3 seasons in the playoffs. Even though he had LeBron James, we see it now. They miss him. No. Kevin Love, LeBron James, those guys, they miss Kyrie Irving because of what he was able to do by himself. The way he was able to get to the basket, the way he was able to create his own shot, the dribble. Arguably the best handles in the game right now, Kyrie Irving, okay? The fact when he went down, that's when I thought Boston didn't have a chance. Although I do think they still have a chance to get out of the first round because for whatever reason, Milwaukee is crumbling. They cut Jason Kidd. They're coaching whatever they're trying to do with Giannis and Middleton and Parker. It's not working. Okay, and I don't know what they can do. I don't know how Giannis can step up, but we'll get to them in a minute. Yeah. But ultimately, I think the Raptors do have a really, really, really good shot to make it to the finals.
No, same here.
And moving on to series I just mentioned, the 4 seed and the 5 seed, Cleveland Cavaliers versus the Indiana Pacers. The Pacers won Game 1. This is the first time LeBron James has ever lost Game 1 of a first-round series in his career. And he's been in the league for 15 years. So
that is something.
This came to a shock for a lot of people, including myself, because I thought that, the Cavs ultimately would end up winning in 6 games just because it's LeBron James. That, and you kind of have to go through history and see that LeBron James has never lost a first-round playoff series and kind of just base it off of that. So that's why I picked him to win in 6 games. I picked 6 games because I thought Victor Oladipo, Miles Turner, Lance Stevenson, Darren Collison, these are guys that I thought would be capable of taking 1 or 2 games from the Cavs. But I did not think that they would take the first game. And now I think the pressure is back on Cleveland to take home court advantage away from Indiana. Because if they go down 2-0, it's going to be very, very difficult to go to Bankers Life Fieldhouse and win 2-3 games coming back from 0-2.
And if Oladipo keeps playing the way he played the first game.
He plays anything like he did in the first game. The Cavs are in trouble.
Oladipo just proving that the doubters wrong once again in these playoffs that, he's a totally different player from last year. And I think I could see the Pacers winning in 7 games. If I'm being honest with you,
they very well could because
they have a chance.
This and I know this is silly, but when LeBron James was with the Miami Heat, and they went to Indiana twice for the 2012 or 2013-2014 Eastern Conference Finals, and LeBron James was being guarded by one Lance Stevenson. Okay, I tell you, he was bothered for at least a handful of games.
Oh yeah, no.
Lance is a guy that gets under a lot of people's skin, but there's something about Lance that drives LeBron nuts. And he won't verbally say it. You won't hear it from him in a post-game interview. You won't hear it in practice. But when he's on the floor, you can see that Lance, just being Lance, really gets on LeBron's nerves.
And if Lance can do that, like it's crazy if you're gonna bother the arguably the best player in the world.
Absolutely. I think if you can do anything that you can within the confines of the rules,
Exactly.
then you can get whatever you can get away with is what I'm going to say without causing bodily harm to another player. Whatever you can get away with, Lance, do it. Because if LeBron James is not on his game, the Cavs don't have anybody else. Kevin Love can't do it by himself. Kyrie Irving's no longer there. George Hill is hurt. Rodney Hood hasn't been himself since he showed up.
It's
Jordan Clarkson, I don't know what happened to him. Forget that. We need an APB on Jordan Clarkson, not Bradley Beal, because I couldn't find him at all. I couldn't find him at all in Game 1.
And he was the next factor. Like, I thought he was, like, going to show up, but if LeBron's not on his game and the rest of even if the rest of the Cavs play good, like, they aren't going to win.
No. There's no – if LeBron is not – and we saw it last night. He had a 24-point triple-double, and they still lost by almost double – did they lose by double digits?
Yeah.
Yeah, they did. So, LeBron's going to need to at least score 30-something points, probably 32, 34 points, get his 10 assists, 8 to 12 rebounds. And that would be enough to keep you in the game, give you a chance to win the game. That's what's it's
and that's sad. And how do you expect a team like that to go to the finals and win?
Absolutely. If they're struggling in the first round against a Pacer team who has a first-year player in Victor Oladipo, granted most improved player of the year by far, and you have I believe second or third-year player in Miles Turner, third-year player in Miles Turner who's only seen playoff action one time, right? It really blows my mind. It really blows my mind that they would put themselves in a situation because they lost at home. I mean, granted, Cleveland hasn't been a good home team the entire year, but they haven't been a good road team the entire year. So I really don't know what else they can do other than LeBron putting the team on his back. Maybe Kevin Love goes off and has, a 28, 30-point game.
Which could happen.
It very well could happen, but he's not going to be able to do that consistently.
They're not making it the finals if they need it.
Exactly.
If they need these two guys to have like 35 points a night.
Exactly. Kevin Love and LeBron James can't score 35 apiece in order for the Cavs to win because it's not going to happen every single night. LeBron's going to get his, and by his we mean somewhere between 24 to 30 points. Anything more than that is extra, which is what they're going to need to win. Okay. Victor Oladipo, he's not going to play like he did in Game 1 every single night, but if he can play anything like he did in Game 1. If Darren Collison can step up, because we know he can score.
He can score.
He's a very good point guard.
Versatile, too. He can.
Yes, absolutely. Very, very good point guard. Lance is going to go off in one of these games this series. He will get 20-something points. He's going to throw down a couple dunks. We already saw one in Game 1.
That was nice.
And that was absolutely crazy. I remember when I went to the Toronto Raptors-Indiana Pacers game, he had a dunk, and the entire Bankers Life Fieldhouse erupted. I mean, they love Lance. I'm the opposing fan, and I love Lance Stevenson.
How can you not like the guy?
I really don't understand. I really don't understand how you can. I mean, it's just a guy that goes out there and likes to have fun. There's some people that say it's like, well, he's too much of a goof. They don't like to see that. They like people that play the game. Well, he plays the game with passion
at a high level.
He loves it. He loves basketball, and he loves being himself. And I think that's why he fits so well in Indiana. When he tried to go to Charlotte, when he tried to go to Minnesota, when he tried to go other places, the LA Clippers, then it's not going to work for him. He's an Indiana Pacer for life. Okay, and
he's that type of guy.
And they not only do they love Lance, but Lance loves playing for the Pacers because he looks different when he's playing in a Pacer uniform. Any other uniform he's playing in, completely different guy, completely different player.
And it's good to see that, because he still has a lot of years left in tank and
absolutely.
And just having fun. That's what it's all about, Like if he's having fun and helping the team, you can't complain.
Absolutely. If I'm telling you right now, if LeBron doesn't get this figured out, if the Cavs don't get this figured out, they're going to find themselves going home. And it's not going to be fun for the Eastern Conference because really, what is it? What is the Eastern Conference playoffs without LeBron James? Where's the drama?
It's not. Yeah, it's non-existent. Yeah, if Cleveland doesn't win the next game, they're not going to the finals.
No, and it would be a shame because LeBron James, for him to make it to the finals, would be the first time a player's going to the finals 4 times with 2 different teams.
Yeah.
So eight in total because he did go. Actually, no, I take that back because he did go to one in 2007. So he has been to the final 4 times with the Cavaliers when they lost to the Spurs. They got swept.
Right.
So I had completely forgotten about that. I guess it would have been back-to-back first time that's happened. I'm not sure if anyone else has ever done that either. That might be another record.
Yeah, it's crazy, but I don't think that's going to happen this year.
It's definitely looking like because even if he goes to the second round, I mean, not that the Raptors and Pacers are that far apart from each other, but Victor Oladipo is 1 All-Star. The Raptors have 2. And I don't think
and the best bench in the league.
And the best bench in the league by far, which I don't think the Cavs can deal with. But there is something in the Raptors' psyche that I've noticed over the past few years is whenever they play LeBron James, they kind of lower themselves. They kind of become, I don't know if they're scared or just if they're nervous because they're going up against LeBron, but their talent level seems to drop a little bit whenever they play the Cavs. So I'm hoping Indiana can pull this off because I would love to watch that series. But moving on to the other couple series here, the 3-seeded Philadelphia 76ers and the Miami Heat 6 seed. They're tied at 1 game apiece right now after playing their first 2 games, heading to Miami. Ultimately, I had Philly winning in 5 games. I don't know if they're going to be able to do that because I do not know the status on Joel Embiid as of today. Today is April 18th, I believe.
Yep.
April 18th, and I do not know the status of Joel Embiid's health. But if he does play for Game 3, which I believe is tomorrow, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it's tomorrow.
I believe it's tomorrow. If he does play Game 3, I'll stick to Philly in 5. But if the Heat go up 2-1, I do think he'll come back for Game 4, and they might be able to win in 6 or 7.
I think Philly can do it in 5. Like, this one can go either way. Like, I really don't know how the series is going to go because, Philly, they have Ben Simmons, great player and whatnot. If Joel comes back, it's a different story. But the Heat, Whiteside can go off. Josh Richardson. They have a lot of pieces. Dragic. So this is like one of the most balanced series, I think, in the whole league. And it can go 5, 6, 7 games. I'm honestly not sure.
The one thing I am sure of is that I don't think Dwayne Wade is going to have another 28-point game, which if he doesn't and no one else steps up, the Heat are going to be dead in the water.
Yeah.
Because it's not going to matter, if Dwayne Wade's not playing well, if Dragic can't score 20-something points, if Whiteside can't get 20-something points, like you said, Richardson, even Wayne Ellington. I mean, Wayne Ellington, if he can throw in, 5 or 6 triples, he can get 20 points.
Easy.
He was in the 3-point shootout for a reason. I mean, he was shooting 38% this year.
He's a good player.
He's a very good.
Bam Adebayo. He's another guy that can step up.
Yeah,
he's another
rookie from another Kentucky guy, right?
Man, Kentucky just makes.
They make great big men, don't they?
They do.
But I don't know. I think with Joel Embiid coming back, I think he's going to make Whiteside just wish that he wasn't playing in that series, because Whiteside, to me, he can't guard big men that can shoot. He doesn't like to come out of the paint. It makes him very uncomfortable, I've noticed. Even though he's a great shot blocker, he's not good at blocking shots on ball. He's great at, when someone drives, tries to throw up a floater. I mean, those are easy for him. He likes to block those shots, but he cannot. His on-ball defense is terrible, especially around the perimeter. And we know Joel Embiid can shoot the 3-ball at a decent percentage for a big man. So when he brings him out, that spaces the floor for Ben Simmons, Robert Covington, J.J. Redick, Dario Saric. Everybody on the Sixers team can shoot. Marco Bellinelli, Urson Ilyasova. Those two acquisitions have been incredible. Those two guys have turned this team, honestly, into contenders. I mean, if I'm being completely honest.
They play out there with a lot of heart, especially Ilyasova. Like, I saw him last game. He was just giving it his all.
Absolutely, and we saw him. I think the last time I saw him play was with the Atlanta Hawks a couple years ago.
Yeah,
I think he was playing in Europe last year, and they signed him this year. Marco Bellinelli, who was he with?
Another solid guy.
Was he playing with Charlotte at one point?
He was
in Atlanta. He was in Atlanta, wasn't he?
He was in Atlanta, and then he did play for Charlotte for a little while. I don't remember the last team he was on, but he was on both. He's been on both of those teams.
Yeah, I know he played for the Spurs back in the day as well.
He's played for a lot of guys.
Played for a lot of teams. I think he played for the Bulls way back in the day.
He did.
So, yeah, he's definitely been around the league, but he's a serviceable 3-point shooter.
Yeah, no, he is. And like just how you said, like Joel Embiid, he's much more agile than Whiteside. A better player, to be honest.
Absolutely.
And it would just be a nightmare.
For him. And the Ben Simmons Goran Dragic matchup. I mean, is it as much as I love Goran Dragic? It's not a challenge. I mean, when you got a guy that's 6'1" versus a guy that's 6'10", and you both can handle the ball, that's the advantage.
Yeah,
I mean, even though Dragic can shoot threes, Ben Simmons can't really shoot at all. But when Ben Simmons can take 3 steps to the cup and dunk it over Dragic, that's another advantage.
It's so crazy, like the advantage.
Not to mention that
Simmons has.
Ben Simmons' court vision is already better than Dragic as a rookie. And that's no disrespect to Goran because he's a great player. But he's
top 5 in the league in assists.
Exactly. The things that this kid is able to do at, 21 years old?
20 or 21.
I can't. And I hate to compare players to the greats, but I mean, he has the court vision of Magic Johnson. I mean, it's they're not as pretty as Magic does.
No.
You know, Magic threw some pretty passes.
Oh, beautiful.
But it's
beautiful.
It's just the court awareness and being able to know where your teammate's going to be, where they're at, how you're going to throw this pass, the right spin on the ball, the right timing, everything about it. This guy, and not to mention he's a dog.
He's an animal.
Yeah, he is an alpha dog, and he doesn't care. He doesn't care.
He will just go straight at you and just demolish you.
It's truly incredible what he has done this season. I mean, really. And I know that we had the argument of Donovan Mitchell and Ben Simmons for Rookie of the Year, but I think after watching Game 1 of the playoffs and what he was able to do, honestly, I think that made my decision.
Yeah, no, and statistically, you know, Ben Simmons is better. I like Donovan Mitchell a lot, but it's just statistically, Ben Simmons is on a whole other level.
We wish that we could give a co-Rookie of the Year, but it's all about the votes. And if it comes down to it and they both get it, that would be the best case scenario for me.
That would, yeah.
But if I have to go one way or the other, I have to give it to Ben Simmons. I have to.
Yeah, and like, you know, a lot of people give the argument that, you know, he already had a year in the league, but even if he played last year, he still would have put up those numbers.
Absolutely.
Like, you know.
Absolutely. And you know, yes, he wouldn't be as strong as he is. Yes, he wouldn't be, you know, as filled out as he is.
Yeah, yeah.
But he would still. That's all in his mind. You know, being able to pass the ball and having that court vision, it's all in your head.
You saw what he did at LSU. He averaged like 20 points, 11 rebounds, and I don't know how many assists.
Absolutely. So. That would have translated to the NBA, no problem.
No problem.
So, but moving on to the last series, your team, the Boston Celtics, the 2 seed. Really, I don't want to say it was shocking, but I thought that, you know, the Bucks would be able to take one game from the Celtics at home without Kyrie. But they've done an incredible job. The 7 seed Milwaukee Bucks are down 0-2 to the Celtics right now. So give me your thoughts on the Celtics and what do you think about them?
You know, I was a little scared to play the Bucks because, you know, Giannis is just a freak athlete and amazing player. But I'm just really proud of the Boston Celtics. You know, they've played so well these first 2 games. The young guys, Rozier, Jaylen Brown, and then Jason Tatum in Game 1. I just love the way they're playing. Al Horford, you know, being like the leader of that team.
Al Horford in Game 1 really stepped up as the leader.
Yeah, he's just the leader. I love his game. You know, he's a great player, and I think like Boston can sweep them. And
you're calling for the sweep. Bring out the brooms.
Bring out the brooms, exactly. And then I heard that Marcus Smart, I think he'll be back April 24th. That's next.
So he'll
week.
Be back for Game 4.
I think it's
maybe Game 5.
Game 5 or 6. And, you know, Marcus Smart, you know, he's no superstar, but he does bring a lot to the table with his defense, with his playmaking ability.
Absolutely.
So, this is going to be a sweep.
Not to mention he's one of the best floppers in the league. And I'm not trying to be funny. I mean, he can sell it like nobody else.
Yeah, no, for sure. And, you know, I don't think we'll get to see Marcus Smart play against the Bucks because I think it's going to be a sweep.
Hey, if that's the case, I mean, you know, if you can sweep the Bucks, then you can have him rest until round 2, and then have him come back just completely, you know, re-energized. Yeah, and I think that would be best case scenario.
That would be really, really good.
I think you would need Marcus Smart going against either Philly or Miami.
Easily, yeah.
So
he's not going to totally shut down Simmons, but
it's not out of the realm of possibilities either that Boston doesn't get to the conference finals. I think it's
still
very possible.
Yeah. No,
it just things have to fall their way because if they can sweep the Bucks and get a week off, you know, and just get guys rested, come up with a game plan. Because we know Brad Stevens. He'll have something.
He will have something. And I just love to see him use all the guys, Shane Larkin, Greg Monroe, just everybody playing. And if Jaylen Brown keeps playing the way he's playing in Terry Rozier.
Let's not forget about Aaron Baines.
Aaron Baines, I love him.
He has stepped up tremendously, especially when Al Horford goes out of the game.
He does. I just love all these guys. And I'm just happy. I'm just happy to see him play.
And Terry Rozier, I'm going to tell you right now, Terry Rozier, after this year, he should take the starting role over Marcus Smart. It should be Kyrie Irving and Terry Rozier in the backcourt with Gordon Hayward, and then I would say Jason Tatum and Al Horford next year. That's going to be a hell of a lineup.
That would be insane.
That's going to be a hell of a lineup.
Rozier is a starting point guard on the team.
He is.
He deserves it.
And you know what? If you can keep both of those guys, because you got Kyrie for one more year, so if you can keep those guys together. That's gonna be
scary.
I'm not looking forward to playing that 4 times a year.
No,
I'm really not.
And like I love Rozier because he's okay with being like a second or third option.
Absolutely. I think he's just that's the kind of guy when I listen to what he has to say and when I watch him play, he just he loves basketball. That's what I see. It's
really nice.
I think he's very grateful. He's very humble about his opportunity that the Celtics gave him. That Danny Ainge drafted him where he did because he was not expected to go that high.
No, he wasn't, and like it's crazy. Like he was playing for Louisville. Russ was on that team, and he wasn't even supposed to be the best. Like, look at him now.
He wasn't supposed to be the best player on his team.
Yeah. Now where's Russ Smith?
So it's
no disrespect to him though.
No
disrespect to him.
But just the way that he was able to come up, and just the way the Celtics have groomed him into this player that he is.
It's amazing.
Incredible.
I love to see.
He's definitely got under Eric Bledsoe's skin.
Oh man. Yes.
But speaking of Eric Bledsoe, I don't understand. We thought that this was a guy that could play next to Giannis and Chris Middleton and Jabari Parker and really elevate them in the playoffs, like they needed him.
He's just disappeared. And like same with Jabari Parker. I know he's coming back from injury, but like he hasn't been playing very good.
No, his athleticism is way down from what it was. And it's got to be the second ACL injury has really got to be taking its toll on him.
It's understandable,
and I hate to say it, but I don't say it's not as bad as Derrick Rose, but it's starting to become a Derrick Rose type situation, which is absolutely terrible.
It is so sad because like Jabari Parker, he had so much, but he still has a lot of potential.
Absolutely, and happening so young and so early in his career. We know Derrick Rose was already playing for a handful of years before it happened. Yeah. This is a guy that hasn't even scratched the surface of his talent level. And like before that injury hit, like he was playing very good basketball, and hopefully he can be the same player that he was. Because I remember a few weeks ago he had dropped like 35 points. Yeah, he had a great game of his life. Of his life.
So I think he still has it, but this playoff series it's been tough on him.
Before it started, I had Boston ultimately winning in 7, just because I thought that they would really struggle without Irving and Hayward.
Yeah,
But I mean, they've really proved me wrong. Unless Milwaukee can tie it back up, winning both games at home, maybe Giannis can pull something out of his hat. Maybe Eric Bledsoe can finally turn it on. Maybe Chris Middleton wants to show up one more time. We know he had that crazy game one with like a 40-foot 3-point prayer went in. They still just couldn't pull it out in overtime. It was a great game though. That was a great game.
It was. I stopped watching after the third quarter. I thought Celtics had it.
And they come storming back, and then they win, force overtime with a prayer. That was amazing. But I'm so happy that playoff basketball is here. It has been so fun to watch, and I'm looking forward to watching the games tonight.
Yeah.
We have 3 games tonight, I believe. On the first one, the Cavs are going to try to even things out with the Pacers. I think that's the first game. I think it's the 6:00 game, and then after that, I believe it's Jazz Thunder. And that's going to be really interesting because I believe Donovan Mitchell has a minor foot contusion. I'm not sure if he'll play or not, but I think he's expected to play. Hopefully he does.
Hopefully,
because if he doesn't and they go down 2-0, it's not gonna look good. But injuries are injuries. And then finally the last one, the Western game, the Minnesota Timberwolves versus the Houston Rockets.
That'll be a good one.
That's going to be a really good game because if Chris Paul doesn't show up again, I don't know if Harden can pull off what he did back-to-back nights.
Yeah.
Karl Towns is not going to play as poorly as he did on the offensive end.
He will not.
And then we'll have to see what Jimmy Butler's able to do. Hopefully Jeff Teague can repeat his performance because he played really well, but not to the point where you don't expect him to do it again. He's just solid guy. Taj Gibson, expect him to do what he does. I think it's gonna come down to the play of James Harden and if they change up their game plan. If Anderson, Ariza, Tucker, if those guys are hitting shots, I think it'll be over pretty quickly for the Wolves. But
yeah, it would.
If they're not making their threes, I expect them to play better on the offensive end. We could see a tied series heading back to Minnesota.
But yeah, no, we could see it. I want to see the Timberwolves win this one.
Absolutely. Well, playoff basketball is back. We're back. Happy to be back.
Yeah, so happy.
We've had a great time watching these games, and it feels good to do another episode. And
man, I missed this a lot, and like hopefully you guys enjoyed this episode. We really enjoyed doing it.
Absolutely, and don't forget to follow us on our social media at Facebook and Twitter. Also, you can check out the podcast if you're listening on iTunes or the Google Play Store. We really appreciate it. Go ahead and leave us a comment. Good or bad, all criticism is welcome.
Oh yeah, for sure. Thank you so much, and we'll see you next week.